In this one, we're going to manually, do you hear me? Manually build a books module. I assume you have your authors module. I assume you have your books database table. Let's not even hang about. We're going to open up our text editor and we're going to go straight into modules here. And we're going to create a new folder called books. Okay. Now inside books, there's going to be a folder called controllers. And there's going to be another folder called views. Inside our controllers folder, we're going to have a new file called books.php. That's books with a capital B .php. So now we're going to do what I call the standard Trongate opening. It's actually just how you normally open a PHP class. And it goes like this. You do PHP tags like that. You say class. And in this case, it's class books. Extends Trongate. And then we do curly brackets, okay? That's how we open up our controller files. Alright, now we're going to make a little method. Now remember, a method is just a function that is inside a class, okay? So let's say function create. And we're going to just echo hello and save that, okay? Now back over to the app here. And we're going to go to our base URL and then /books/create. And you should get a page that says hello. That is perfect. All right. So now what we're going to do is we'll go into the views folder here. We're going to make a new file up and we'll call it create.php. Now this can be all lowercase, so just the word create.php. And in fact, we can do a headline. Let's do some H1 tags and we'll just say create new record, okay, and save that. All right, now we'll come back to this in a second, but first, over on our create method here, I'm going to just quickly show you something. If I echo current URL like this, okay, current _ URL in parenthesis, well, what happens is we get the URL that we are on at the moment. This is a thing that's built into the Trongate framework, and it's quite useful because we're going to use this to create a form location. In other words, a place where we're going to post our form to. So it's going to go like this. Form location is string replace. Now see that str replace? This is a PHP thing, okay? It comes with PHP. And we're going to replace /create with /submit. And what are we going to do that to? The current URL. All right. Now that syntax does look a little bit weird, but this is actually perfectly valid, right? So if we echo the form location and refresh, you can see that this last segment has changed. Now, if you're wondering why we're doing that, doesn't this all seem a bit awkward? The reason is because later on, if we have IDs in the URL, like 1 and 2 and 3 and all of that, do you see how the whole thing is maintaining this nice URL structure, but the only difference is that we're swapping out create for submit. That's how we do that, okay? Now, this form location is going to be passed into our create view file. As is the tradition, we're going to create a data array, and form location is going to be a property on our data array. So let's say data, and in square brackets, form location is, and there we go, right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say data view file, so that's view _ file equals create. And finally, we're going to call upon a template. Now, it just so happens that Trongate does have a template that we can use. I'm going to say this. We're going to load up template. And in parenthesis, we're going to say admin. That's the name of our template, okay? And we're going to pass in our data. So comma data is going to pass all of that stuff in. Now let's save that. And we are now going to refresh. And there you go. Not too bad. As you can see, the URL here, I'll get rid of this number 3 actually, but it's books/create. All right, so now let's build the form. So on our create here, you'll remember that we do have a form location. We passed it in. I'm just going to echo it out and prove that, right? So do you see how we've got this form location? So what we're going to do is in PHP, we're going to echo form open and we're going to pass in the form location. That's going to give us some form opening tags, by the way. And let's also do form close. And that is going to give us, I'll just do a comment, that's going to give us that, okay? Now, by the way, yes, Einstein, you could, in fact, just go like that if you want. However, I'm the kind of guy who likes a bit of symmetry. Don't you like a bit of symmetry? Okay. So let's just go with this vibe, right? Form open and form close. Now, join in with the fun, and together we're going to make this form in record time. Let's start off with the title of our book. I'm going to say echo form label, and I'm going to have a label that says book title. Okay, let's go on to the next line. Now, by the way, everything we're doing here is covered. I'm working on this page, but everything that we're doing here is covered in the documentation at the form helper section. So you'll see that there's a table here. Now, it may look slightly different by the time you get here. There might even be some typos. Who knows? I've just written this stuff. But what we're doing just here is we're using form label, okay? And we're just adding in some text, and that's all we're doing, okay? So we have a form label. Now I'm going to have a text field. Again, this is covered in the docs where it says form input. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing, right? So echo form input. Now the name of the form field is title, and in fact that will do us. Let's just go straight on to the next one. It's going to be a really basic form, right? I'm going to echo form label, and let's just say description. Now I'm going to echo form text area with a name of description. Again, if I take you to the docs, you can see here's form text area, and it's expecting a name. Now there are other fields that we can add. We'll maybe come on to that later on, but right now we're just keeping things nice and easy. Alright, now I think we should save that and have a quick look. So save and head back here, refresh, and look at the nice form. It's actually not too bad. Okay, so let's keep on moving. Now the next thing that we're going to have is, how about author ID? So I'm going to echo form label. Now I won't say author ID, I'll just say author. Okay, so that's going to give us a little label down here that says author. And for this, we're going to have a drop down, and it's going to let us select an author, and well, that's basically it, okay? So if we have a quick look at the documentation, let me show you how this works. You can see here that we've got some instructions for a form drop down, and the drop down can accept a name argument, a bunch of options, and a selected key. Let me just walk you through this. It's remarkably easy. The first thing we're going to do is head back to the controller file. Now, I'm going to build a little method down here, and I'm going to call it underscore get author options. There we go. Now, this is going to say rows is, and we're going to do a little database query. So this model get, and I'm going to order by last name. And I'm going to be fetching from the authors database table. Okay. Now, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start building an array of options. So let me just say options. Now we'll have an empty one to start with. So a key that's empty, right? And it's going to have a value of select author ... Okay, this will all make sense in just a minute. Then I'm going to loop through the rows that we've got. So I'm going to say for each rows as row, and I'm going to say options, and I want the ID inside here as the key. So I'm going to say row loading up ID. Now what's that going to be equal to? It's going to be equal to row loading up first name, a little space, so dot, and then some quotations here. Then we're going to have another dot, and then row loading up last name. All right. Finally, we're going to return options. Now, even though I haven't tested it or anything, I'm confident that that will be just fine. So, upstairs on our create method, now I'm going to say, let's call it data author options is this, and let's just call get author options. There we go. So what does that mean? Well, this is going to call upon this method down here. Now I've added an underscore. I actually did not need to do that, but that means that you will not be able to access this via the URL. And so it's going to fetch an array of options, and those options are then going to be passed into the create view file. So with that being the case, let's go back to create here, and I'm going to echo form drop down. Now the name of the drop down is author ID. And again, let me quickly take you to the docs so that you can see how this is all coming together. Can you see how the second argument is an array of options, and it's actually key value pairs that it's looking for? So we're going to pass in author options, and then the third argument we're going to go with is the selected key. For us, it's just going to be that empty one, so we'll just do this, okay? Alright, now save that and have a little refresh. And there you go, a fabulous drop down. Isn't that fantastic? Alright, now we've got one more form field to go with, so let's just echo, and for this one we'll do a little div, okay? div, and I'm going to type the word published with a little semicolon and a space. Now let's close off this div like that, and in here, okay, in this part here, we're going to have a checkbox. Now again, a quick look at the documentation is going to show us how to do a checkbox. Here it is here. So you can see that it's form checkbox. I'll do this right now actually. So we're going to echo form checkbox, and no surprises, the first thing it's looking for is the form field name. So for us, the name is published. Okay, now the next thing that we can add is a value. The value means what value is going to be sent across if the thing is ticked. I'm going to just say 1, the number 1, okay? And then finally, we've got checked, which is a boolean. So that is an attribute for declaring if the checkbox state is checked. So a boolean is either true or false, right? So we can say true. All right, save it. And if we go back to our page and refresh, look at the fabulous little checkbox. Obviously, if we said false, then it would not be checked. And in fact, did you know that if we say 1, the number 1, it will behave exactly the same as if it's true, and a 0 will behave as if it's false. Kinda cool. Now the very last thing that we're going to do with this form is we're going to build a form submit button. So this is really easy. I'm just going to echo form submit. Now this is going to have a name of submit, all lowercase, and a value of submit with an uppercase S. So save that, refresh, and there you go. A fabulous form. Join me in the next video and we'll take this a step further.